Remy Hall is with us in the studio, and welcome to Remy. How are you, Remy? This is your first time on bases on any performing arts at all?
Yes, that's correct.
Welcome, Remy. This is a big deal. It's very important. You're 21 years old.
22.
22 years old, and you've got some observations on what the hell's going on, and you are representing the young people of today, and you're a very smart cookie, and you've got a few things to say. So away you go.
Okay, so can you please let me know what they can see now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Your studio monitor's directly in front of you, so what's on that is on air.
Okay, so what are my intentions? I want you, the viewer, to understand a complex and heavy subject without falling asleep. Why? Because it's pivotal in winning the war against our souls and humanity. We need to take responsibility for our reality together. And we can't do that without first noticing the deception as it happens.
Okay.
Yeah. If there's one thing that I've dealt with, it's people telling me I shouldn't shove my beliefs in the faces. Yeah, the fact of the matter is that we're all in this together at the end of the day, and things are going on, and they're going on, and we need to actually notice it and take responsibility for it, rather than burying our heads in the sand, because it's very selfish and it's very weak, and it is not a good way to go about life. And, you know, it affects other people's lives. So it's not that I'm shoving my belief systems in other people's faces. It's that I'm trying to get somewhere within humanity, you know? Now, before we begin, it's very important to understand that words, just because they're spelt differently, it doesn't mean that they have different intentions behind them. Sounds make specific frequency patterns, regardless of your conscious, programmed understanding. The subconscious mind has access to our cellular memory, which is our past lives, and therefore knows all well the subliminal messages and meanings behind the words and symbols. Now, if you try and read that paragraph, you should be able to read it. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. If you just take a minute to read that, and you should be able to read it without problem, because that's how the mind works.
Well, why don't you read it?
Because that's not the point. Part 1, clues in language. So if you take the S at the beginning of swords and you move it to the end, you get the word words. And earth is an anagram for heart. And this is really important, because that saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, it's just not true. Because words, they stay in our cellular memory, and therefore it relives the trauma again and again and again. So if you get bullied at school, it's going to stay with you throughout all your lifetimes to come. It's very hard to recover from hurtful words. An example of the phonetic differences is the word know. It's a positive word when it's spelt like this, because you know. It's knowledge, it's a good thing. Whereas the word no, it's a negative word. However, they both sound exactly the same. This is an example of doublespeak and things like this that are causing problems. Words are swords. It is defined as the source that controls the universe. And the Greek for word is logos, and the word logos is defined as the source that controls the universe. Now, within the word, this is just a primer for an example, so you can understand what I'm trying to get at, is the word rod. A rod is a magic stick used to conjure. It is also any bar connecting parts of a machine, and it's an emblem of power and authority. Our language is our prison. Book as a verb means to detain or arrest someone. Books are made up of chapters, and a chapter is correctly defined as a secret society or a religious order. Chapters are presented using pages, and to page someone or something. Also, pages were deliverers of messages. Now, there should have been another thing in there, but I don't know where it is. What I was going to say is that a sentence is kind of like a prison sentence. I don't know whether I've already said it or not. What bothers me? The first thing we learn to do when we go to school is to spell. Now think about the word spell. Sorry, my apologies. When we spell a word, we cast a spell. And this is important because when we're children, we're vulnerable. So when we've been programmed for so long, since childhood, and we're that stuck in a language that it's a part of our life, it's very difficult to break out of that cycle. And it's well, I'll get to it anyway, but the cells in your body react to everything that your mind says. Negativity brings down your immune system. And so if you look at the news now with this coronavirus, one thing that I've noticed is that all of a sudden the studio's red and the news presenters are wearing red. Now red is an alarming colour and it speaks to the subconscious mind. So you're in a state of fear and therefore your immune system's brought down to the lowest point it can possibly be. So just notice that next time you watch the news. The word grammar translates to grimoire. And the word abracadabra is a real word, and it's the language that Jesus was said to have spoke. And it translates to, I create what I speak. And I think this is very true. So we now have an idea of the mysticism and occult agenda behind the language. The clues are there if you're open to looking at them. Summoning. The word it is one of the biggest spellcasting words. Why? Because it is not necessary. You see how I've just used it? I'm using it now. But there is other ways of saying it. When we use the word, we use it in a third person context. Stephen King's novel, It's important to know that he admitted that he was possessed while writing the novel. And the film is basically about a scary clown that is a manifestation of people's fears. This is a good example of the summoning of entities through speech. Let's just say it is in fact based on truth and it acts as a kind of doorway to the dark entities, and then all of a sudden these corporate logos make sense. Just take a minute to look at the logos. In comparison to the word it, we have id. And this was developed by Sigmund Freud as a model of the human psyche, the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the ego. It's in the subconscious mind that we hold trauma, fears, scary monsters, guilt, sadness, and it's a part of this brain that he called the id. The whole concept is uncomfortably familiar with Stephen King's novel. We have been programmed to accept the abbreviated id or ID as our identity, and we unknowingly give power to this creature and help to create it. Another big connection is the acronym for it, Incredible Technologies. I know when I went to school that I used to have an IT lesson, and in comparison to the whole it and id, I think it's quite scary, because what if demons were manifesting themselves through the artificial intelligence? Can you show that slide, Miles? This is another thing I found interesting. While I was doing the whole presentation, Miles sent me an email with the Agenda ID 2020, and I thought it was interesting that they'd called it ID 2020. It's a connection for other people to look into. I've not had time to do it myself. Pronouncing the words has a pronounced effect. The science of cymatics shows how all spoken sounds take on vibratory, geometric shape. The Tibetan monks show how sound can be used to form geometric patterns, and the pictures on the side of the slide are actually examples of the shapes that sounds can take. Oh my God. Well, yeah, I think you understand anyway. The Goetia demons. They were known as the Book of Howling because spirits react to sound. They are summoned through sound and grammar. And that's some of the examples of the demons and some of the names of them. It's hilarious because... Anyway, yeah, there was a demon called Aim. And so when we think about how many times we say aim, we don't know what that could be doing. Consider the mind's ability to combine words and sounds. When someone sneezes, you feel customarily obligated to say, bless you. But if you sound out the syllables, the subconscious mind also makes a connection to the phrase, be less you. So the very act of blessing someone can also be subconsciously telling them to be less. This is what I term spell casting. Now the television, if you really look into grammar and words, you'll find these absolutely incredible links, and it is terrifying because it stands for tell lies visually, and the remote control, it remotely controls you. And when you watch a program, you're being programmed. Max Spears said that if you change the vowel within the word Nazi, you get the word Zion, which is another interesting point. The word soldier, it phonetically sounds like soldier, haha, soldier. MTV, it's a TV channel that kids watch. And if you say it really fast, continuously, it begins to sound like MT me, MT me. Icon. It's an icon. Believe, it contains the word lie. And another point as well is if you spell love backwards, you get evil. History, his story. The winners write the books. Just remember that next time you go to a history lesson. It's his story. Part 3, sun or sun. Amen-Ra, he was an Egyptian sun god. Now, take note of the sun above his head. Now, you go onto Google and you look up Jesus Christ and you will find every single picture of that man. He has the sun in the background, just like that. And it is one really interesting connection to make because I'm finding that there's an awful lot to do with the Egyptian sun gods within everything today. And it's very confusing because they all come across as the same person. The soul. We are all said to be souls or have a soul. We have a solar plexus and our feet have souls. The word for soul in Italian is sun. Human. Well, a cube is what's generated from the sun. It creates the light, and we're called a human. Dimension, dimension. Person. You are called a person because you are pertaining to the sun. When a male child is born, he is called a son. The word for son is Son in German. Hello. Have you ever wondered why we use the word hello to greet each other? After all, the word can be reduced to hell, the fiery place of eternal punishment, and the suffix of "o" means associated with. So in other words, hello, it means associated with hell. So when you go up to someone and you say hello, you're sending them to hell. Helios. In Greek mythology, Helios, which means sun, was the god of the sun. Is it just a coincidence that you have a soul and that our sun is called Sol? If so, why do we call those who die in battle soldiers or soldiers? Is that why we say good morning when the sun rises? because it's good to see the sun, because it gives us life, but we are mourning those who sacrifice their souls to make it possible. Why do we call the male offspring sons? You are called a person. Is it because you pertain to the sun? Saturn. Now this is something that it's in the process, because it seems every fact I discover in regards to Saturn, it links to something else. So it's a never-ending discovery, and I feel quite strongly about it. It's no secret that Saturn is associated with evil, because it sounds like Satan. So for argument's sake, I'm going to say that Saturn and Satan are one entity. If Satan is so evil and horrible, why is he worshipped by government bodies, secret societies and royals? Hell, they even named a day of the week after the guy, Saturday. Not to mention the term used for the test we take at school, SATs. Usually when the elite demonise something or someone, there's an agenda behind it. Saturn is esoterically associated with man's limitations and restrictions, death and decay. His Greek name was Kronos, the ruler of time. When we get married, Duncan Davis also mentions how the whole marriage is set up as a ritual, and to put on the ring is symbolic of Saturn and Saturn's ring. Santa. Now this is where it gets weird, because before I mentioned the god Helios, and it's where we get the term hello from. Now, call me mad, but I see some kind of similarities there. Santa and Helios. There is certainly a similarity there. The cube is indirectly symbolic of Saturn's hexagon. That's because if you take a hexagon and you turn it to a cube, it's quite possible. It's also where the term I put a hex on you comes from, as well as the term cubed in. The cube is also represented as a cross. This is what Christians worship, it's the cross. It's a template for a cube. Why? The sun was sacrificed on the cross, but the sun is still here. Or is it our really sun? Oh my God, Miles. Is it really our sun? A way of figuring out the structure of the prison is using numbers. 6 being dark, 3 being light, and 9 being the source. Now I've tried to put this in a way that actually makes sense and isn't really boring, so please, give it a minute to think about. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 6 is 12, which equals 3. Now it's important to remember that any number above 10 doesn't exist. It's always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it goes back to 1. So that's how you need to look at this. So if 6 add 6 is 12, then the answer is 3. So 3 plus 3 is 6. And then if you add 6, it goes straight back to 3. And that's how it works. They constantly bounce off each other. And if you keep going, you get 12 add 12, which equals 6, 24 add 24, which equals 3, 48 add 48, which equals 6. So it's funny how it's always the pattern of 6, 3, 6. It's not 3, 3, 3, 6, 6, 6. It's always an equal balance, and this is how the good and the bad works within the world. Now when you times, it's different, because if you times 3 times 3, you get 9. And interestingly enough, if you times 6 by 6, you get 36, which is 9. 9 times 9, again 9.
Stop hitting your mic, darling. You're hitting your mic all the time.
Sorry.
Okay.
9 always equals 9, and 3 times 3 or 6 times 6, it always equals 9. Another example of this structure is when we look at a digital clock. 12 o'clock would be 3, but if we change it to analog, or is it digital? Miles?
That's an analog clock you got there.
24 o'clock's analog?
24, that's a 24-hour clock, yeah.
Right, okay. Well, yeah. 2 add 4 would be 6. So the clock demonstrates an inversion within itself, because There's the digital time and the analog time, and they both turn on each other. And that's how I think the prison's built. And I think it's also symbolic of the rings around Saturn. Part 5, the law of the sea. This is again quite a long-winded subject, but I've made it as short as I can. The law of the land is unique to every country. It's based on the culture of the people. So something that's illegal in one country may be legal in another. It all depends on who lives there. So you couldn't just go to Japan and do whatever the hell you liked. You have to follow their way of living, their culture, and that's the law of the land. The law of the sea is the same in every single country, and it is a law of money. Money is liquid, it's considered as a liquid. This is where we get the saying that money's slipping through our fingers, or when you're in debt, you're in deep waters. It's considered as a liquid, it's a liquid asset. It's considered as a cash flow. This is why we put money in the riverbank or bank. What does a bank do? It directs the flow of the current, or in money terms, it directs the flow of the currency. Tide comes in, tide goes out, just like money comes in your account and goes out your account. When someone is done in or broken, we say that he's all washed up. And if he gets arrested, he is in hot waters now. Therefore, he will need someone to bail him out. So the banks get flooded with bail money, and now his account is all dried up. So he will need an offshore account. Drowning in debt, laundering dirty money in the mainstream. The bank can levy his account. But not to worry though, his ships will come in, but his house is underwater. And when you have no cash flow, you float alone at the riverbank, which directs the flow of the current sea. Not to make waves or rock the boat, but we run a tight ship here and we need to make sure you're on board. Now, we as human beings are 76% water, so by the book of the law, we are considered to be assets. We are born with a value and we are considered as merchandise. This is important. Every ship on the earth, by law, is a female. Why? Because it's the female that delivers the product. You are the product. Men manufacture, while female are in labour. Just think about that for a minute. Men manufacture, whilst females are in labour. When a big ship makes a big delivery, it will pull up in the harbour and stop. This is termed as the berth, and it's spelled B-E-R-T-H. Every single piece of merchandise coming off that ship must have its own paperwork. Paperwork is a certificate of manifest, and it includes the make, model, weight, colour, etc. Just like when your mother gave birth to you, and you had to have your own document that stated details which add or deduct to your value. When the birth is over, the doc must sign the certificate of manifest to confirm the details are accurate. Because you are not here as a human being, you are just here to make them money. That's why the doctor will be there to sign it. By the law of the sea, we are each individually businesses which add or deduct value. When the birth is over, the doc must sign the certificate to confirm the details are accurate because, oh, I've already said that. When we are born, we come down the birth canal as 76% water. So whether you like it or not, you are a human resource. Now, if you don't need to show this, because I'll read that out because it'll put them off. So the fact is that we are slaves, and the language we use unknowingly is our permission. As Duncan Davis mentions, all our energy is harvested and sent to the triangle of art. Now, I have a feeling that the law of the sea is actually a description of the space. Sea of space, and earth is the ship that delivers the merchandise. In other words, energy. But who to? And I don't think this would be allowed without our permission. Tim Refat calls free will hyper-infinity. And so if we think about hyperinfinity as a currency, and when we speak we give it away, so what does that buy? It buys them the ability to create, because we as human beings are from Earth, we have heart, and therefore can art create. Aliens or archons don't have that ability, and so they exploit and use ours. Now if the source was around, there is just no way that he would allow us to be abused the way we are, which leads me back to Saturn. Yeah. Saturn, it's an anagram for true sun. Earth is the heart. To be from earth, well, it's the same thing, is to have our heart and the ability to create. Our Father who art in heaven, God made us in the image of himself, and therefore we as human beings possess the gift of creation and the capacity to love. Now in the Corona video I was talking about these pictures and I got it so wrong, it was unreal. The swords that are going into the heart are symbolic of the words that we speak, creating a prison around the earth. And you know, it doesn't get much straightforward than that. Now the solutions. Right. Now this is inspired by Max. I have a sort of thesis for Saturn, and I think that Saturn was the original sun. I think Saturn's the original god, and the moment Saturn gained rings, the moment we became enslaved to the Elohim. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure El is translated to sun. But based on my theory, it would be an imposter sun. And perhaps when there was said to be 3 days of darkness, this was when the transition happened. Now the Holy Cross is a template for a cube. Saturn is well known for its cube on the North Pole. Do you know what Max said? He said he would be interested to see what would happen if Saturn lost its ring. One thing that I think would happen is that time would no longer exist. And then yeah, that's my thesis anyway. And then this was supposed to be a video, but I've not been able to play it unfortunately, but he says that he believes that he thought himself here in this world, and so he could think himself out of it. And I think that's completely right. In fact, I know it's completely right because I've done it myself. Now, my mum is a Capricorn, and Capricorn's a goat. And my mum, we were both talking and we were really connected, and we were saying how it doesn't make sense because she loves the salt that she eats and she really loves the sea. So if she was a goat, she couldn't be more further away from the sea. And then a few weeks later, I was on the internet looking at astrology and whatnot, and all of a sudden Capricorn's a sea goat. Now, I thought this was a typical Mandela effect, but no, I think we connected our logic with our heart and we managed to shift realities. So if my mum and I did that, then imagine the possibilities of what we could do collectively. I think the secret to this is to analyse the logic in things. And I want to try and experiment today in honour of Max and what he should have accomplished. I want everyone to use their logic right now and their heart, and we're going to attempt to break this prison. And everything I have taught you, please take a few minutes to analyse it. This is important. And if you're watching this 10 years from now, please do this, because I think it'll really help. Think about the trick that's embedded within the language and how we are never taught that in school. Think about the law of the sea and how we are being used as a source of energy. Think about all the pain that you have felt and realise it's a source of food to some alien. Think about how that makes you feel and really feel it. Now I want you to visualise Saturn rings dissolving, and I want you to feel your heart rate increase and know it's right. Feel the relief and analyse it. And how it doesn't make sense, and how it's not fair. Concentrate on the picture and hold it in your mind's eye. I want you to close your eyes now and visualise that picture, and I want you to visualise it until the clock has gone. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. I really hope that enough, it will. But thank you. Thank you, Miles.
I'll put up there's some questions there if you want to have a look at those on the screen. Hi, Remy. Great to meet you the other day. I've only just realised you on Facebook and we already spoke. That's from the Grid Keeper.
Oh, it's Duncan.
Yeah, Duncan. Do you want to have a look at those and just check them?
Truth Seeker, why do you think that it doesn't apply in the UK? If you're still there anyway. It's unified, it's a law that is everywhere. The law of money. We are, whether you like it or not, considered an asset. If you take a magnifying glass to your passport, you'll find the value that you hold. And you end up paying that back in taxes. Yeah, that's quite correct, Dawn. It's by paying things and giving the money, we give permission. It's all very symbolic. I mean, if you look at the dollar, you'll see that it's actually a worship of the god Isis. No, time doesn't exist, but it does exist, honestly, Anthony. And I think it's a little bit of an uneducated comment to make, because you live by time. Everything you do revolves around time. You're going to die, and that's because of time. Time is the prison system. It's what's built around this planet. And to say it doesn't exist is to enforce it and keep it going. We must not be in denial, because it's an attitude like that that really brings this planet down. To say time doesn't exist, I find it really annoys me, that, because it does. It does exist. Exia, I don't know. It's easy to come up with these scientific terms about raising our vibration and everything, but the fact is, it is what it is. We're here now. Earth is a real place and it's being attacked. So yeah, when we raise our vibration, but I've not experienced that yet, mentally. To talk like that is to talk like it's just your world on your own. But it's not like that, is it? We're a team. The more you deny what's going on in front of you, the more that you feed the system. And not only that, but the whole point of it was the language. Have a wonderful dinner. Thank you. Okay, I don't know.
Is that all? Do you want any contact details on Facebook or anything? Do you want to announce your contact details or anything like that?
Yeah, my YouTube channel's Truthfulness. I think you could probably contact me on that. They tell us in songs that we are time, but essentially we create it with our thoughts. The hope of tribe never knew time was reading. Zero, I please ask you to think about what you're saying. No, the key to escaping the language is actually to put in the effort and really start being mindful of it, to start demanding that we choose the curriculum on the school curriculum thing. They should be teaching us things like how to build a house, how to build electric, Wi-Fi, how to make food, how to do medicine. Medicine is one of the most important things. But they don't. They teach us language and grammar. They teach us how to cast spells that we don't even know that we're casting. And we're that far deep into it that it's a part of your life. It's impossible. It's very, very hard. And we need to stop trying to escape the reality of it, because it's cowardly, it's pathetic, and everyone else suffers for it. Telepathy is a big part of it, yes. I think that, you know, if you look at words, please do look into it. You'll. Pharmaceuticals is an illusion, anyway. They come up with all these fancy words that no one could possibly understand, so it makes you feel like you don't understand it. So then you go to university, and they give you a square cap at university, and to be square means to not know what's going on. You know, they rub it in our faces, and you just have to open your eyes, smell the coffee and take responsibility for it rather than feeding it. It's not something that you can do on your own, it's something we need to do together. And that's the bottom line. And yes, I agree with Hugh.
Dave Mara called you a prophet.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, Stephanie, the birth certificate is the certificate of manifestation. It states everything that you are, from your race to your weight to the time you were born. It's a certificate of quality, I suppose. We are together, yeah, but we are different and we are living different lives, but it's not the point, you know. There's too much hate at the moment, and that's because of the programming that we suffer from, especially with music that we listen to. I mean, if there is someone who does end up watching this that is a board of an education building or anything, then please do contact me, because this is something that's incredibly important, because we've grown up now, and it's, you know, if we could help the younger generation before it's too late, then that would be something. And everything's paradoxal anyway, so all that I've said today is having an effect in the future. Yes, I'd love to meet Jordan Maxwell. Thank you, Demetra.
Well, who knows, you might get an invite to meet him in the United States.
Lena, what do you mean by that? That bothers me. I find that very uncomfortable, that comment.
What makes it uncomfortable? What
Well,
aspect of it?
I had a dream about a faceless man in a mechanical suit, and it was very odd. But think about that word, David, love. Spell it backwards, it spells evil. You need to choose your words wisely. I'm sick of people telling everyone to raise the vibration. It's not as straightforward as that. I mean, when you're speaking to someone who's been going through years and years of programming, they don't have a bloody clue what you're going on about, and they look at you as if you're mad. We need to find another way of describing these things so it puts it in a physical way. The face, yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, that's interesting. Doctor and doctrine, yeah. Yeah, but if you look up the maritime law, you'll find exactly what I've been talking about. But it's not an easy thing to read. It's highly boring. It's difficult not to live by time when you've got clocks everywhere and appointments. That's not how we should live. I think the most important thing to do is to have fun. And, you know, if you get a fine, don't bloody pay it, because you just give permission. You know, I think we need to stop feeding the system. I think if it was up to me, I would demand that everyone stops paying the tax, stops paying the rent. What could they do? But the only way that we could do it is if we pulled together and all did it together. It'd be the only way that would make a difference. Though, again, it's all easy standing there and talking, but it's about putting action. And, you know, that's another thing, organic food. In my opinion, yes, stop paying TV licence because you're paying for it to be programmed. It's bloody ridiculous. You sit there and you pay for a TV licence, you're paying to watch lies visually. How stupid. I mean, come on. Yeah, I think we should all go on strike. I'll comment my Facebook name, and if anyone's interested, we'll plan to all stop paying and going to work and just see what happens. Not only would it cause a lot of attention, but I think it would probably be a dangerous thing to do, but I think it's something that no one's ever done before. How do I think life would be? I think that we wouldn't die, for one. Heart. We use the word heart because there's a lot within the word heart, because love, it's an inverted word. It's there to trick us. I will comment. You can contact me on remyhall123@outlook.com. Can you type that? Yes, Lily, but if everyone stopped paying rent at the same time, You know, I think it would... I mean, even if we could get the landlords to stop, it's the point of it getting big enough to the point where everybody stops, including the landlord. We've got to stop this idea of separation and hierarchy. We need to communicate with each other. Well, that's what we want, no, Duncan. Because it's the banks that direct the currency. In other words, they direct our energy to the triangle of art. I think we should just go and... no, I'm not going to say that. I need to behave. I was going to say something very alarming. Oh, do you know what I say? I say system.
No, really.
But that's the wrong attitude, Paula. Have some faith. Duncan, what I'm going on about includes explosives and big buildings, and I don't think it's very wise to say it. We are being exploited, and it's up to us whether or not we do anything about it. I know one thing's for certain, I'm not going to have children in this lifetime because it's just too stupid. I don't want my child to have a birth certificate. I don't want my child to go through the system and be a slave. And, you know, it's selfish. And if you've watched this today, then to go about your life, again, like normal, it shows a hell of a lot of ignorance. And you need to check yourself. You do. This is real. It's real. Time's real. The prison's real. It's all real. This is not television, it's YouTube. Unfortunately, until we all do something about it, there isn't an alternative. No, it's not there for our health, because if they gave a damn about our health, they'd teach us how to make medicine at school, as opposed to algebra and Of Mice and Men, the most pointless book I've ever read in my life, and I had to read it about 4 or 5 times. This is what they do. I mean, if you look at the corona thing now, the first thing that's been on their itinerary is getting the kids back to school, because they can't risk losing that few years of programming. It's too important to them. Because if that generation grows up and they've gone without that, you know what I mean, brainwashing whole scheme, then there's going to be a change. But I think it's the children that really, really need to be helped right now. Us lot, unfortunately, I think we've gone through it, you know? But those fresh minds, they can really do something. I mean, let's think like the Illuminati. They know it's not going to be done in their lifetimes. Why can't we plan like that? And that's not fighting fire with fire. It's just thinking with our real brains. Yeah, exactly. You do learn when you leave school. You do, because you get experience. It makes me so sad when I see children staring at the PS4s, and there was a woman and she said it's like they're in prayer to the god of technology all day, because they're stood like that and looking at your phone, and it's like you're in prayer. I mean, I found a patent online for the coronavirus, and a patent, it has to be an invention in order to be a patent. So, I mean, come on, it's obviously there for a reason. They've done it for a reason. But it's a virus at the end of the day. We grow to it. We get immune to it. It's not the end of the world. There's something else behind this. And if you ask me, I think they're going to start bringing out businesses that are owned by the government to give people jobs. This is what I see coming. I see the government bringing out these little businesses in order to employ people. Now, that takes away anyone's idea of a goal in life, or I'm not going to say an aim, but what's the word? I don't know, it's gone. A motive. It takes away motive. They want us to be lacking of animation and creativity because they don't have it. They're jealous. And it's something they'll never ever have. We've got the heart. We're from Earth. They're trying to take the Earth and they don't have heart. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think the only way to understand the elite is to realise that they're all off their heads. There's just no making sense of it. It's not logical what they do. But then that's chaos. I really need a cigarette now and...
Well, we'll call it a day. You've been going for 53 minutes. Well done on your very first presentation. It's excellent. And you've certainly got the chat rooms really, really hot there.
Would you rather me stay?
No, I think it's probably time. We got Michael Shrimpton coming shortly. But
Okay.
if there's any... give the chat room another couple of minutes.
Okay.
And
Chris Head, you're insulting people who are of your own kind. This is what we need to stop doing. Yes, they are sleeple, but it's your responsibility to wake them up. Stop shifting responsibility. It's not right.
well, why don't we say thank you very much, Remy Hall, thank you. And it's been great seeing you. And we had a great discussion last night, but we won't be using that. And any final words you want to tell people? You've seen the audience reaction. You've really got people going. You're a great talent. Any final words?
I just want to say that it's really upsetting me to see this attitude of talking about people who are asleep. It's just not gonna. It's not gonna help to have that judgment and hold that judgment. You need to do what I was trying to tell you about using the head to analyse things, but to analyse things that you can feel within your heart. And if you let that guide you, it's called heart-mind coherence. And it's the key to reality shifting and jumping timelines. Because I've done it, and I really have done it. I'm not chatting, honestly, it's that easy. But you need to really think and feel. And it's not easy, it's not, but it's something that's worth practicing. And unfortunately, to just comment on the ignorance and sleeplessness of people, it's not nice, because they've been programmed and they've not wanted to be programmed, and they didn't come here to be programmed. So it's your responsibility to be awake, to help them come out of it. I mean, grow up, please.
Well, I think, Remy, that's there's enough there for maybe a second lecture sometime. Thank you very much indeed. And hopefully we'll be able to join you later today for the sort of chat that we can do that later today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Remy, and all the best. We'll just